Hello everybody, my name is Lara. This is Neuroscience, Home Ed, Reproduction, Lesson 6. Asexual reproduction. We made it through 5 lessons on sexual reproduction. Finally, we have got to asexual reproduction. Very brief recap. What is the difference? Well, I've got 2 humans here. And as we know, it takes 2 humans to make 1 new human, yeah? So let's say this is a human with a female reproductive system. These little dots, apologies to biologists, these little dots are like the DNA in the person. The DNA that tells that person, it's like their instruction manual. It makes them who they are. And here's a person with a male reproductive system, and you can see they've got a different set of DNA. So they're different people, they've got different, well, they've got different reproductive systems, they've got maybe different coloured eyes, different coloured hair, whatever. We've looked at how the person with a female reproductive system produces an egg, or eggs, and they've got 50% of the DNA required to make a human, only half. So let's say they've got the red dots in. Any biologists are just going to be shaking their heads like, what's with the dots? Just, let's say like half, okay? So the point is, you can see that not all the DNA has made it into the egg. Just half. They look quite tasty. Anyway, the male produces sperm, we know this. That's also got 50% of the DNA in. So let's do what I'm trying to tell you, okay? What I'm trying to show you with this is the thing that you already know, that you are not a clone copy, an exact replica of either of the people who made you. So an egg with half the DNA needed and a sperm with half the DNA needed, they come together, it's called fertilization. We've heard about this before, you can watch the previous lessons, and that makes a whole new person. And that new person will have different DNA to either of these people. Yeah? That's sexual reproduction. 2 parents make 1 new person with completely different DNA, or different DNA. But asexual reproduction, well, that's a different way. You don't need this other person. You don't need sperms and eggs. How can a living thing reproduce so that it just makes a complete replica of itself? Like a clone, like a copy, see? Visual diagram. The same. How does that happen? That's asexual reproduction. That's what we're going to look at right now. Before I just tell you, I'd like you to do a thought exercise, please. Some kind of imaginative task for me. Because we're not just about the science here. I want to see if you can accidentally hit on how things asexually reproduce, because there's loads and loads of different ways. Imagine, please, that you are part of an alien research team. You intercept a human. So you're in a spaceship with all your alien buddies, your scientists, your research team. You come across this human, but they're in hypersleep. They're travelling alone. You don't want to wake them up, because they might be dangerous, yeah? It's your job on the team to generate some ideas for how this thing might reproduce, okay? Now, I don't want you to mention like eggs or sperm or ovaries or penis, any of the other stuff we've talked about, because that stuff isn't visible to you. Just looking at it as a living thing, just try and use your imagination. Think, what other ways could this person possibly reproduce, okay? You've got to put to your team in 30 seconds as many different ideas as you can. So here's one for you. One of the aliens is saying, maybe hair, like, grows on its arm, and then a head and then a shoulder sort of grow, and then finally a whole new one appears and like pops off the arm and runs away. Could that be how? Some ideas, please. I'll give you 25 seconds while I blow my nose and have a cough. 17 seconds now. At least you can't catch it, because the wonders of technology. Oh, that's nice. See, Kate's saying hello as well. Okay, have you done that? Have you come up with some ideas? If you want to tell them, you can always tell me. You can always go to my Facebook post and tell me. But lots of people coming up with lots of fantastic ideas in the live shows, like maybe that, well, actually, let's look at how real things do it, and then we'll keep coming back to this picture and see if we can say how something reproduces in nature and how that would work if it was an actual human. So, you might have brought some stuff with you. I gave you some ideas of things that you could bring. Here's what I've got. Along with the different names for all the different kinds of ways of asexual reproduction you can have. So I haven't got a pet spider plant, but I do have a picture of an arm, which will be explained, some moss, some lichen, a mushroom, some bulby stuff, a potato, some ginger, and quite a sad-looking strawberry plant, because this is the third time I've done this lesson. I'll start with the boring one that I had no example for, cell division. And while I'm talking, maybe you can think, if humans did this, how would it work? So, cell division, we have talked about it before. Bacteria do it. All the little pet bacteria you've got living in your gut. This is how they work. Let's make it bigger. So bacteria are different to a lot of other cells because their DNA isn't in a little sac called the nucleus. It's just floating around, which makes this diagram a lot easier. So let's say, because I'm bored of drawing coloured dots, that this is our bacteria and these little coloured dots are the DNA. How the bacteria reproduces is it just creates a copy of its DNA. Looks like a Betty's Fat Rascal that you get in York. It's making me hungry. And then what it does is, you'll see this in like GCSE diagrams, the cell just divides. It's called mitosis. If we do any GCSE lessons, we might, if I'm brave enough to teach biology GCSE one day, we might go into it a bit more. But yeah, eventually, it's, well, how I would describe it is, I think that's the biological term, you just get two cells. Ta-da! The bacteria has turned itself into two bacteria. That's what's happening in your guts right now, just again and again and again and again. It's so easy, right? You only need one thing. We're going to look at the advantages and the disadvantages of asexual reproduction. Well, what a massive advantage. It's not like a peacock where you've got to grow massive feathers and prance about and try and find a female. No, just Bob's your uncle. There you go. So that's cell division. Bacteria do it. The next one I want to talk about is, so I suppose, horror film style, how a human would do that is just like sort of splitting. If there was an imaginary zip down the middle of the human would sort of split in half and then the other side grow. Or maybe you'd like copy yourself. Maybe that's more accurate, isn't it? And then the divide would split. Anyway, the next one is quite similar to cell division. It's like a cute little version of cell division called budding. So let's say this is a yeast, a little piece of yeast. A little kind of lump appears on the yeast, and then the lump gets bigger and bigger. It goes through the snowman stage, and eventually, again, like it just pops off. That's called budding. The most fantastic creature that I can't believe I just found out about this. There are some books, stories about them, but I haven't read them. A creature called a hydra. It's a freshwater creature. It's only a few millimetres high. It's got a mouth, which I think it also poos out of, and it's got tentacles. But how it reproduces is little tentacles just appear on the side of it, and then they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually a whole new one just pops off. It's called budding. I probably shouldn't find it as adorable as I do. Cool thing about hydra, they're immortal. Yeah, they seem to just live forever. I mean, in the wild they get eaten and they get diseases, but if you put one in a science lab and look after it, just lives forever, as far as we know. Pretty cool. Okay, so that's cell division and budding. Two ways that you can just reproduce yourself. If you brought any moss or lichen, Lucy, you're doing well here, then have a look at it now. The next one we're going to talk about is fragmentation. So if you have a look at this lichen, oh, it's lovely, beautiful stuff. Can you see it's got loads of bits sticking out? That is not an accident. That's evolved. So that one of the reasons it looks all spiky like that is so that when animals, say, brush past it, it gets stuck in their fur, or maybe gets picked up on birds' feet and carried away, and when it lands, the little fragment can just grow a whole new colony. Pretty nice, eh? It's the same with moss. Next week we're going to look at how plants reproduce, because they can reproduce sexually as well. So pollen has got sperm in it, and plants do have eggs. I think these little bits at the top here have spores in. That is how they reproduce sexually. But moss can also, if a bit gets ripped off and lands somewhere nice, it can also colonise like that. So that's fragmentation. The mushroom one's good. So I guess that one is, if you thought about, like, maybe if the human's arm fell off and then a new human grew, it would kind of be like that. It would be like if you were constantly, like, waving your arm around, hoping that an animal would, like, pull it off and run away with it or something, I suppose. Pretend that this is a massive puffball, because they're more fun. Those big white puffball fungi that you get. Have you ever seen those? What's happening inside those is that billions and billions of tiny spores that have exactly their DNA are building up in a stomach-like thing, and then they just explode. This was a popular choice. Maybe some of you said the human exploded and a new human came out. That's basically what a puffball does. It explodes, but billions and billions of tiny little replicas of itself just float into the air and drift away. That's spores. If you brought a strawberry plant, this is the bit I'm interested in. It's got this very weird, very tough stem in the middle. It's the same with spider plants. So you get one parent plant, and then you get this big, long, tough bit coming off, which is called a stolon. Stolon, not like the delicious Christmassy marzipan treat, but similar. And at the end of the stolon is a little baby. So that will have exactly the same DNA as its parent as well. The plant can reproduce by producing flowers and getting like a bee to land on the flower and then move to another flower and then the fruit grows. We'll do that next week. But obviously that's quite faffy. You've got to like produce a flower, you've got to wait for a bee to come along. Much faster to produce a stolon and have one grown at the end. Even blackberries do it. I got to weeding my strawberries when I was in the garden and found this beast. Be careful, ow, 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 ow. So I got a load of roots from my blackberry, and then the branch went along, and I thought, oh good, I can just find the end and peel it. No, there were roots on the end. Look what it did. If a blackberry stalk lands on the ground, it just grows roots. Why not? That's why they're everywhere. I didn't know that they're invasive. I love them, but they're not. Ow! Not native to. Anyway, I digress. Quickly, the next three. Ginger. It turns out that ginger plants actually look like this, right? The leaves come up like this, and the roots come down like this, and in the middle you've got what's called a creeping root stalk, which turns out to be quite tasty. But that's how ginger plants asexually reproduce. The creeping root stalk, kind of like a stolon a bit, but underground, just creeps along, and shoots up more plants. There you go. Nice. Wonderful. Potatoes are slightly different. Potatoes are not root vegetables. You know that? It's called a tuber. So if you have a tuber with you, you might see that it's got eyes, and eyes are where the stalks grow. I never understood this, to be honest. It took me 39 years to understand this, researching this lesson, because I was like, well, you've got a potato with eyes. Yeah, fine. The potato grows a stalk. But how is that reproducing? It's still just a potato. I don't get it. Eyes grow out the stalk. It's the same. That's not reproducing. But of course, I've forgotten that new potatoes grow off the stalk. Yeah. And then over time, they get left in the ground and then they grow stalk. So it's fine. The potato knew. And finally, bulbs. I've never seen this in my life, but the internet swears that it's true that how a garlic or an onion reproduce. If you've got a garlic or an onion with you, have a look at the really hard bit at the bottom that you never eat. It's called the basal plate. Apparently, new bulbs just grow off the basal plate. Oh, I guess. Oh, is that? Oh, wait. I've been saying, I don't get it. That doesn't happen. I don't know if that was one garlic and then new ones grew. Oh, this is me just realising. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I've never seen a little baby bulb growing off a basal plate of an onion or a garlic. Please, if you see this is how nerdy my life is. I want you to take a picture and show me. So, those are many, many different ways that things can asexually reproduce. Komodo dragons do it too. But I'm doing a Christmas show at the weekend. It will be next up on my Facebook page. We're going to talk about that later because that's a bit more confusing. Right. I'm going to ask you some questions now, because all those weird different methods that I told you about have some things in common. So I'd like you to have a go at telling me what they have in common. The other lessons, I had another question up, but I thought, actually, I'm not making you think enough. So I'm going to give you question 1, and I'd like you to have a bit more of a think, and then I'll give you question 2 in a sec. So, first of all, question 1 is, what does all asexual reproduction have in common? I think it's quite tricky. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different options here, and some of them you can say that is true for all asexual reproduction, and some of them it's not true. So just circle or make a note of the right answers. If you've got the printout, you go to my Facebook group, it's free. No sperm or egg required. Is that true of all asexual reproduction? Can't happen when it's cold. Is that true of all asexual reproduction? Relies on wind or animals. One parent needed. Offspring are genetically identical to the parent. Produces genetically identical offspring. And occurs in plants. And if you finish those, Question 2, first of all, is what might be the advantages of asexual reproduction? Why would it be a good thing to asexually reproduce? To have all your offspring be exactly the same as you? There you go. And then I'll give you the options after, when you've had a chance to use your brains a bit. And I'm just going to go blow my nose. To the surprise of nobody. Oh, I'm such good telly. I hope the CBeebies producers are watching this. Let's have a look for my Facebook comments and then I'll give you question 2. How have you got on? Let's go through the answers to... I tell you what, I'll give you question 2 now. Now that you've had time to have a little bit of a think. If you're watching this back and you haven't had enough of a think, obviously you can pause it. There you go. So, question 2. I've written some advantages of asexual reproduction, and I've also written some disadvantages. And I'd like you to tell me which ones are which, and which ones could maybe be either. One of these is an advantage and a disadvantage, depending on your situation. So, can reproduce quickly. Is that a good thing or a bad thing about asexual reproduction? Species may be suited to only one habitat. More energy efficient. Only one parent required. Don't have to wait for offspring to develop. Offspring are identical. Disease affecting one affects all. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Can easily colonise. That means like grow in, take over a local area. And don't rely on pollinators. Which ones of those are good? Which ones of those are bad? And which ones of them might be good or bad, depending on the situation. And if you finish that, why doesn't everything reproduce asexually? Looking for a mate, as we've talked about, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy. Nothing reproduced sexually for the first 2 billion years of life on Earth. So why do creatures bother? Ah, Kate is giving me an answer. It splits itself and then fully detaches itself. Ah, Jack and Mary are here. Hello, Jack and Mary. CV producers would be very lucky to have me. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't always feel this way, but I'm really glad I'm not on the CBeebies today. Oh, Lucy says his toes will get really long. And then other humans will grow off them. Oh, amazing. Yes, exactly. That's exactly how ginger works, isn't it, right? Yeah, because the toes, you could sort of say they're like our roots. Oh, wait, so no, the ginger isn't a root, is it? It's actually the proper word for that bit of ginger that we eat is the rhizome, which does have roots coming off it. Yes, Lucy, you're right. Thank you. And your idea has made me challenge myself. Okay, let's go through these answers. So, no sperm or eggs required. That is true of all asexual reproduction. Woo! No sperm or eggs. Brilliant, easy. Can't happen when it's cold. No, that's not true. We haven't mentioned climate at all. All kinds of reproduction happens in all different conditions. A lot of asexual reproduction does rely on window animals, like the fragmentation that we looked at, or the puffball spores blown in the wind, but no, not all of it. Strawberry plant doesn't need window animals. One parent needed, yes. That is a huge advantage of asexual reproduction. Offspring are genetically identical to the parent. Yes, you've got to be a bit careful here. I was sort of trying to make it simple for you, and at first I just wrote offspring are identical to the parent, and then I thought, Lara, wait, that doesn't make sense. Obviously, like all potatoes are not exactly the same. And then I realised that it's one of the reasons is it's like twins, isn't it? Human twins. You can have the same DNA, but the circumstances be slightly different. Like maybe one potato had a bit more shade or a bit more water or was growing against a rock. So careful, the offspring are genetically identical. They've got the same DNA. That doesn't necessarily mean that they look the same or even behave the same. Produces genetically identical offspring. Yeah, I was just kind of trying to trick you. It's the same thing, isn't it? If the parent makes offspring that all have the same DNA, then obviously all the offspring have the same DNA. Occurs in plants. That is not true of all asexual reproduction. It's true of some, obviously, but not all, as we've seen. Hydra aren't plants, yeast aren't plants. And the advantages and disadvantages, oops, I'll tell you quickly and then we'll go through the answers. Can reproduce quickly. Yeah, that's definitely an advantage. Yeah, I mean, we've looked in our worms show a couple of weeks ago, we looked at how worms are literally vulnerable as they sexually reproduce because they've got to be out of their holes. So to do it very quickly, that would be an advantage. Species may be suited to only one habitat. That is a disadvantage. You want to be suited to more than one habitat. We'll talk about why in a bit. More energy efficient? Yeah, that's definitely an advantage. Getting energy in the wild is hard. You've got to eat food and, oh yeah, tiring. So make it as energy efficient as possible. Only one parent required. That is an advantage. No having to faff around finding a mate. Don't have to wait for offspring to develop. Oh, that's an advantage as well. Yeah, it's not good to be a little embryo, is it? Or you're very vulnerable, you know, tiger cubs and, I don't know, babies have it hard, don't they? Don't wait. Disease affecting one affects all. That is definitely a disadvantage, which we'll talk about in a sec. Can easily colonise one area, that is an advantage. And don't rely on pollinators. That's a huge advantage as well. Pollinators being like bees, butterflies, anything that might land on your flower and carry your pollen, your sperm-wrapped ball away to another flower. That's just a faff. Who needs that? Right, I'll bring it over here so that you can still note down the answers, and I'll just give you a little bit more detail before I show you the GCSE questions. Hello. Here we are. Oh, beg your pardon. Offspring are identical. I missed that one out. Offspring identical is either. So I'll tell you why. Can you see that properly? Don't want to go too fast with my answers. So yeah, one of the massive advantages of asexual reproduction, you could kind of lump them all together, but don't if you're answering a GCSE question. You can reproduce quickly and more energy efficiently, and only one parent is required. So things that reproduce sexually, as we've talked about, spend an awful lot of time showing off, prancing around, you know, weaver birds, like the male builds nests that might not even be used just to show the female and be like, please, please reproduce with me. You get away from all that if you can just like split yourself in half or grow a new root, eh? So huge advantages. Quickly, more energy efficient, only one parent required. Species may be suited to only one habitat. So this big puffball fungi that we talked about, which is not that, releasing all those spores, they're all identical, yeah? So puffball fungus tend to grow in leaf litter. Now, if the puffball fungus produced loads of spores that were all genetically different, then maybe one of the spores would survive better, like where it was a bit drier, maybe, or where it was a bit warmer. So if it landed somewhere that was drier or warmer, it would be more likely to survive, and then there'd be a whole new, because it would reproduce, there'd be a whole new colony of puffballs. But that is not the case. The puffball, because it produces things that are the same as they tend to only be able to survive in the same place, yeah? So they might all prefer leaf litter. So it colonises the leaf litter nearby very easily, which is this one, can easily colonise or grow in a local area because it is suited to that environment, but it's not necessarily going to get further. It might be suited to only one habitat, so that would be a disadvantage. So we've sort of done that one. Oh yeah, offspring are identical. So we've sort of covered that. So for the puffball fungus wanting to reach dry land, say, that would be a disadvantage that all its offspring were the same. Coming back to the bacteria in your gut, they're pretty happy. If you're looking after them well, if you're eating your vegetables, then they're having a great time in there. The conditions are just right for them. Why would they want to produce loads of offspring that were all different and some of them might not survive? Just split yourself in half and, you know, have a good time. So there, it would be a big advantage that all the offspring were identical. That leads us nicely to one disease, a disease affecting one, affecting all though. So when you take antibiotics, if the antibiotic kills one bacteria in your body, it's going to kill all of them because they're all genetically identical. Yay! It's not good for the bacteria. The reason that people say that you should really not take any antibiotics unless you absolutely have to is because sometimes that cell division does go a bit wrong and you get something called a mutation where the offspring has ever so slightly different DNA to the parent. And when that happens, your antibiotics might kill the parent and all the original bacteria, but the mutated bacteria might be able to survive. It might not be killed by the antibiotics. And then what does it do, of course? It reproduces and reproduces and reproduces. And they're all the same. And suddenly you've got a new bacteria that doesn't get killed by antibiotics. And this is what's happening actually, is that we're running out of antibiotics to kill bacteria. It's called a superbug. That's why everyone freaks out about superbugs. Yeah, it doesn't rely on pollinators. So next lesson is about flowers and fruits and seeds, and how a lot of plants, like the strawberry, it does have flowers as well, it can reproduce sexually, but it's kind of nice if you don't have to worry about bees travelling and touching you in the right place or whatever. Why doesn't everything reproduce asexually? Well, I think we'll come on to that later. I want to do the GCSE questions with you before you forget everything that I just said, because that was a lot. Right, I'll very quickly tell you how I can do these for free. My job is amazing. I'm so grateful. So if you're a if you're a home editor, or if you're not, if you just like watching these after school, then maybe you pay for Zoom classes. I could be a tutor. I don't really want to be. I don't want to charge people a lot of money to teach them in small groups. I am really enjoying teaching an enormous group of people. And what happens is everything is free. The printouts and all the lessons are stored. But people who choose to can pay me. So children, you could just like this for me, that'd be great, and comment on my Facebook page and stuff. Hit a bell, is there a bell to hit? Adults, you can go to my Facebook homepage and click sign up, and it takes you to this website called Coffee, where you can support me with various amounts of money, and you get various different cool things. The thing that I'm very proud of is Theatre of Science magazine, which I write and release, supposed to be every 2 months. This latest one was very late, but if you sign up now, I will send you the colour issue. It's got activities in it, which I really like, but I can't do live for various reasons. It's always got a comic in it that my poor husband illustrates. So it's very good. Get it? Give me money. Thank you. Okay, this is the question. Massively going for the sympathy vote today. There you go. Can you just answer those while I go get some water? Okay, I'm back in the room. Stop throwing stuff. I'm passing notes. So, question number 1. You've got a little cell here. Let's say it's a bacteria, eh? It's reproduced asexually. And you have to tell me which one out of A, B, C, or D cells is its daughter, its offspring. So the original parent cell has got like 6 pieces of DNA in. That is horribly incorrect, but I'm not going to make this more complicated than it has to be. 6 pieces of DNA, 3 lines, 2 backwards L's, and an elbow shape. Which one is its offspring? A has got 2 lines and 2 backwards L's. B has got 3 lines, 2 backwards L's, and an elbow, but they're all mixed up. C's got 2 lines and 1 backwards L, and D has got 2 lines, 2 backwards L's, and 1 elbow. Which one of those could be the offspring of that parent cell? Question number 2. Oh, I think this one's tough. There's no diagram. They haven't given you any clues. Ugh. Bluebells can reproduce sexually using seeds. We'll talk about that next week. But they can also reproduce asexually. Give 3 advantages to the bluebell of reproducing asexually. Why would it be good if you were a bluebell to reproduce asexually? 3 marks at GCSE. And your summary questions, that's just what I would hope that you would be able to do after watching this lesson. Can you tell me 2 ways that asexual reproduction is different to sexual reproduction? It's kind of the answers to question 1 on that first sheet. And can you describe 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages of asexual reproduction? Some of you aren't going to do GCSEs, or you're not there yet, so you can answer the summary questions instead. Although you'll note they're quite similar. Kate has spotted wormy in the background. I know, she's never leaving my shelf now. I love it that she's just always on my shoulder. I'll give you 30 seconds. I'll give you 45 seconds. Okay, question 1. Did you say D or did you say B? These were really dividing people. Yeah, divided. Okay. It's B. The answer to question 1 is B. Some people got a bit foxed by the fact that the strands were in a different order. That doesn't matter. You can see it's a cell. It's got stuff inside it. It doesn't matter exactly where they are. D, the order was correct. Good question, isn't it? But one of them is missing. So you can't possibly be the daughter. A couple of people saying in yesterday's lesson that maybe that one could be a mutation. Physics is my specialism, but I think with like a DNA strand missing, I don't think that cell would be able to survive. I think that's probably why the question didn't give you 6 pieces and one a different shape, because I suppose then you could have said, like, maybe that was a mutation. But no, the answer has to be B. Bluebells can reproduce sexually using seeds or asexually. 3 advantages to the bluebell of reproducing asexually. Well, the first one, the one that you can just say when you get any question about the advantages of asexual reproduction, basically, is only one parent needed. It wasn't really obvious in this case, because you'd think, well, there's loads of bluebells around, but still, one parent needed is a good thing. It makes it a bit faster. So I suppose one parent means you don't have to rely on pollinators. Again, this will make more sense next week, but I'll put not reliant on pollinators. You don't need bees and butterflies to come along. Not reliant on pollinators. And yes, again, it all sort of follows on, doesn't it, once you've thought of one. If there's only one parent, then that means it's going to be faster. It's going to be more energy efficient. You don't get 4 marks, obviously, but you could have had any of these. I think it gives it produces many offspring. That would be any of these for 1. Let me check the mark scheme, make sure that I haven't missed any off. It takes less time, so faster's fine. Many offspring produce any genetically identical offspring would have been, you could have had that as an advantage. I'm surprised, actually. But if you said that offspring all the same, I think that what this is teaching us is if you're about to do biology GCSE, offspring all the same, I think I would have to say genetically. Just write them all down. As long as they don't contradict each other, as long as you don't write faster, slower, then it's fine. The examiner will just ignore what you haven't, if you have just missed off a little detail. No vulnerable embryo stage would have got your mark. Oh yeah, and colonisation of local area. The reason that one's important, colonisation, or you don't have to put this exactly, but easily take over local area, but you did have to say something about the area being local. Like easily colonise the nearby area, or something like that. Or even not wasteful of flowers. or pollen or seeds. You could have had that as well. Yeah, there's loads of marks available there. A lot of people just skipped it because it looked scary. So, 2 ways that asexual reproduction is different to sexual reproduction. Yeah, they were the answers to question 1. So I was looking for things like one parent or no sperm or egg. Again, if you want to look at Komodo dragons, they are pretty cool, but we're not going to talk about that now. It's slightly different. One parent, no sperm or egg. What's the other one? What's the other classic difference? Oh yeah, offspring genetically identical. Offspring genetical, is that right? Genetically identical. And 2 advantages, well, you've got loads of advantages to asexual reproduction here. The 2 big disadvantages to sexual reproduction. Oh, what are they? The 2 big disadvantages. Come on, I've just written them on the sheet. That the species might be suited to only one environment. The species might be suited to only one environment, so that puffball fungus can probably only grow on leaf litter or similar. And also that the disease affecting one affects them all, the antibiotics one. If one of them gets ill, then all of them get ill. I was going to mention the Irish potato famine, but it's so sort of complicated and horrendous that I think we'll do it as a story time so I can tell you more details. If you want to look up the Irish potato famine, then that is very relevant to this. Yes, I'll tell you later. Right, that's it, isn't it? Yes, that was a lot. I'm just going to hang on that page just for a second so that you get all the answers you need. But actually, wait, no, it doesn't matter. Because this is YouTube, so you can always pause it. All right, I'll just flip you around and say bye then. Well, thank you so much for coming, everybody. This has been an absolute delight. I'm sorry about all the hacking. So, as I speak, in 2 days' time, I'm going to do a science show on my Facebook page live about the science of the nativity. What was that star? What is myrrh? That kind of thing. And that's repeated on Monday. Next week's lesson is how plants sexually reproduce. So we're going to look at like flowers and seeds and pollination and all that kind of lovely stuff. And then we will finish for Christmas. And then after Christmas, we're starting on our new topic, which is the rock cycle, which will be very nice. So look out on my Facebook page. When I've planned the lessons, I'll put up the events and I can tell you what you need and things like that. Right. Thank you so much for coming, you lovely lot. Bye Lucy, bye Kate, and bye anyone else who has joined me. And Jack and Mary, yeah. Bye Jack and Mary. And anyone who's watching this recorded, thank you so much for watching the recorded versions. I really appreciate it. Bye! There it is.